we have learned the rules for adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing signed numbers. So now we're gonna look at these two examples. And before we do these questions, we want to go over the order of operations. So the order, when we have those operations, we follow a quick way to help us to remember is please, excuse, my, dear, and Sally. P here means parenthesis. If we have parenthesis, we must do parenthesis first. E means exponent, M means multiplication, D means division, and A means addition, S means subtraction. And notice that multiplication, division, you don't, although when we say it, we say my, dear, and Sally, it may make you think multiplication goes before division, but that's not the case. Multiplication and division, they have the same priority. You're going to follow the left to right order. Left to right. When you see multiplication and division together, whichever goes first, you would do it. And the same for addition, subtraction. You don't have to do addition before subtraction. If you have subtraction first, you do subtraction first. So you follow left to right. You follow the left to right. Now let's look at this example here. Now we have, what if we have two pairs parentheses? And notice the brackets, they are the same as parentheses. You can change them to parentheses if you want. And we use brackets so we can see better. This goes with that. This half goes with the other half. And so they have exactly the same function as those round parentheses. Now let's see how we do this. When you have two pairs, you have to start from the inside, innermost. So remember the rule. If you try to do the outside ones, you usually will make mistakes. So try not to do that way unless you're really good with these. And don't try to get rid of parentheses and brackets in the same time. And you will do the parentheses and brackets at the same time. You will also make mistakes. So let's try to slow down to the innermost. So start with the inside pair of parentheses. We work out 12 minus 19. Remember, you can always insert a plus sign here, change subtraction to addition, and then you will get opposite of negative 19, which is opposite of 19, which is negative 19. So we're gonna keep negative 15 and keep this minus sign. We work out what's in the brackets, parentheses. And so we insert, to do that, we insert a plus sign in front of it. So we're going to have, again, subtract a number, 19. Subtract 19 is the same as adding the opposite of 19, which is negative 19. So we can use the addition rule. Pick the sign of the larger, because we have $19 debt. That means more debt, which means we're still in debt. And how much more? $19 debt minus $12 credit. That gives us 7. 19 minus 12. That gives us $7 more. And we still have to use parentheses because the answer is negative. This minus sign comes from the problem, but this minus sign comes from the answer. Now we continue to work out the next part. We copy 20, copy minus. And to do negative 7 minus 8, we also insert a plus sign. The same reason as we explained. And so we get negative $7 debt plus $8 debt. That gives a negative $15 debt. Next, we can work out what's in the brackets now. And notice that we can change again. This time, we're not going to insert a plus sign in front of it, because if we do, we still have to deal with these two negative signs. So we're going to use the keep change rule. So keep the first number, negative 15, change. So this is keep. Next we do change. Change the minus to plus, and then we also change the next sign to the opposite of plus. So again, it's the same rule, but it's like subtract a number is like adding the opposite of that. So we change minus to plus, opposite of, 7 here, opposite of -7 is +7. Okay, now, but the quick rule is just say keep, change, change. Next, we're going to do keep, change, and change. And now -15 plus +7 is more debt, end up in debt. How much more debt? 15 minus 7, $8 more. So we have $15 debt, but $7 credit. So we have $8 more debt. So that's the answer for that. And now we keep that minus sign. And 20 plus 15, that's 35. Now to do the last step, we still can change the subtraction to addition, but because we only have one sign here, we can just insert a plus sign in front of it. And $8 debt plus $35 debt together is negative $43 debt. And the reason we can insert a sign here is because subtract 35 is the same as adding negative 35. Because the opposite of 35 is negative 35. So now we can look at the second example. In the second example, we have some multiplications involved, although we don't see any multiplication sign. So for the multiplication sign, we could have traditionally in elementary school we learn this cross as multiplication. But when we learn algebra, this can be confused with the letter X. So we try to avoid using this cross for multiplication. Commonly we use a dot to represent multiplication. But you can also use parentheses to represent multiplication. If you have two numbers, both of them are in parentheses. Well, one of them is in parentheses. And for example, something times something. You don't have to put anything in there, and that means multiplication. If you don't have parentheses, then it's not a multiplication. For example, right here, between this -3 and the parentheses -5, there's nothing here. That actually means multiplication. But if I get rid of parentheses, it's just going to mean subtraction. So be careful. If I say get rid of that pair of parentheses, that means -3 minus 5. With the parentheses, it means times -5. Okay, similarly, between -4 and 7, that means multiplication. And actually, we cannot get rid of parentheses. If we get rid of parentheses, and then it means like -47, but that's not what we mean. So we have that we have to put parentheses here. Okay, now let's look at how we follow the order of operations to do this. So first of all, we keep -8. When we have this multiplication here, we have to do multiplication. Multiplication and division, they have to go before addition and subtraction. So let's multiply them. When you multiply, there are two ways you can do. You can keep the minus sign and then multiply 3 and -5, because positive times negative, that will give us a -15. That's one way to do the question. There's a different way you can do. The other way is to think of this, that you have a little plus sign here, insert a plus sign here, again because negative, the plus sign is omitted, and minus something can be considered as plus the opposite of that. So then you can be doing, if there's a plus sign here, you can be doing -3 times -5. That gives us negative times negative is positive. So you can get a positive plus positive 15. But when you have two plus signs, you can omit one of them. You don't have to write two plus signs. So there are two ways to do it. The second way is a little quicker. If you did the first way, say you kept a minus sign and you do positive 3 times -15, that gives you -15. You still have to use keep, change, change to turn both of them into positive and then to get a plus 15. So the second way is quicker. And then next part is plus. Negative times positive is negative, and 4 times 7 is 28. So now we can do addition. -8 plus 15 is 7, and more credit than debt. And plus -28. This time we have more debt than credit, so we end up in debt. And 28 minus 7 is $21 more debt than credit.